Good morning, everybody. Welcome to GI's webinar for on the 18th of August. We're doing something a little bit different today. It's all marketing related, so we're not going to actually talk much about outsourcing and accountancy and things like that. But we're lucky to have Joe Edwards join us from JE Consulting. Joe and I have been working together on McAlvin's and GI projects over the past year or so, and we think she's done an incredible job for both our businesses. And given the climate that we're in today, we think that with her experience working with some 140 firms across the UK, that she could potentially add some value to your firms and help us all out of this bit of a, I want to say hole, but it's probably not a nice thing to say. But at least help us out of this lockdown and get the business engines going forward again. So over to you, Joe. Thank you very much for joining us.
That's my pleasure. Just checking you can hear me okay. Right, okay. So we're talking today about getting back in the game. So this is about how firms can market their way out of the pandemic. And the reason that this is different to how things were before the pandemic started is that overnight, pretty much the playing field has completely changed. The tactics, I think, that brought us new clients at the start of the year are completely different. The way that we're running this webinar today, I think we've all got used to this. We've all got used to this virtual world that we're in. So our objective really this morning is to look at how you need to change your marketing tactics to embrace what effectively is a completely changed landscape. So let's start. I guess my first question here really is as a firm, how are you doing? If you've done any kind of marketing qualifications or business development type qualifications, you'll probably be used to this image here, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's particularly relevant today, I think, because we all went pretty much back to the basics in March. And I'm sure a lot of you can remember the fight in Tesco's for the toilet rolls and the pasta. We retreated back to our homes, to food, water, warmth, rest, that security and that safety, and back to our basic needs being addressed. Those were our priorities at that point. So our sense of connection has certainly taken a hit. So how does that compare really to your potential clients? Well, I just want you to imagine this scene at the moment, yeah, which is maybe familiar to some of us, but this is, you know, a town that's been completely flooded, yeah. So just for a minute, I just want you to imagine the trauma of this scene, yeah. Your home is flooded, your family are now homeless effectively. Your hierarchy of needs have gone right back to the bottom of that pyramid of needs. And just for a moment, imagine that you are one of these people. How would you be feeling right now about your family, your finances, what the future looks like? So put yourself in those shoes. Before we do that, actually, I forgot to mention something. JE Consulting recently won an award. Absolutely delighted about that. It was Marketing Business of the Year UK, really delighted. I think a lot of our clients are happy because they've been, or they now know they're dealing with an award-winning marketing agency. And I'm hoping that that makes us sound more appealing to you. What I'm guessing is that you're actually thinking at the moment that this announcement was really not appropriate and completely tone deaf, when what you were thinking about was the impact of this flood on your life and your family, really miles away from what you're thinking about. And it was wholly inappropriate. But this is potentially how your clients feel right now. Their business could be thriving, but alternatively, it could actually be being completely destroyed. And the last thing we want to do with any marketing activity now is rock up to somebody who's facing the burning building scenario and announce that we've won an award, or our tax investigation insurance is running at a 15% discount. Would they be interested in that right now? And I'm guessing absolutely not. What I would say to you is that actually this is your time to shine. The accountancy profession is now an absolute key worker for any business owner. So now is the time for us to be strong, caring, helpful, and our opportunity really to sell comfort and security to clients and build trust and confidence. I think many of you will have already been doing that since we went into lockdown in March. I think, and I'm guessing you will have been in contact with clients on a regular basis. You will have been helping them put the fire out at the burning building. You will have been helping them with loan applications and job retention scheme, payroll runs, etc. And the time now is really to build on all of that trust and confidence that you will have built with your clients since March. And this is how we have to adapt our marketing messages now. So this is about being interested and not interesting. It's about solving problems and offering help, care, knowledge, comfort to our clients. And all of our marketing messages need to emulate these key factors. And to achieve this, we need to recognise the position that clients are in. They will all be different. Some sectors are thriving, others are just surviving, and many are facing real financial difficulties and uncertainty. So what client communication skills should we really be honing now? Well, my view is that our marketing messages must be small and relevant and not grandiose statements. Our work with clients and prospective clients, for that matter, is about personal meetings, it's about phone calls, video one-on-one conversations with clients through Zoom or Teams or Skype, whatever your platform is. You know, and really hold their hands, care, listen, be supportive. So remembering it's our time to reach out and help. And I think a long time ago, when I got into marketing, I remember somebody saying to me, you know, your ears and mouth were given to you in a specific proportion, use them that way. And the more that we can get clients talking to us, the more they will put their trust in us to do more for them. And as we head now into what could be a potentially, tough recession that we're apparently in, but it's going to get worse, and I think we will have to recognise that, is recognise where these skills fit in. Interestingly, in 2010, Harvard Business Review actually conducted a year-long study on the performance of about 5,000 companies before, during and after 3 global recessions. So 17% of the companies didn't survive at all, and almost 80% didn't regain their pre-recession sales and growth rates 3 years after the recession had officially come to an end. Only 9% thrived after a slowdown, doing better financially than they had before the recession. And in fact, these firms beat their competitors in their sales, their profits, by at least 10%. And what Harvard Business Review did is saw that these companies fell into 3 categories. They were prevention-focused companies, promotion-focused companies, and what they call pragmatic companies. The difference between the 3 is that prevention-focused companies were organisations who primarily made very defensive moves, highly focused on cutting costs, avoiding losses, minimising risks. And sadly, this direction led those companies to aim low and invest little in their innovation. So a real fear for survival. The promotion-focused companies invested heavily in offensive moves that provided more opportunity for upside than most of their competition. There were some serious downsides for those companies. However, many ignored the warning signs from their clients and their customers, continued to enhance their products and services and raising their prices, but paying little attention to what their customers really wanted. Which brings us on to the pragmatic company, and these groups balanced both defensive and offensive moves, which isn't an easy task. lots of testing and implementing going on, most focused on improving operational efficiency while developing new markets and investing in new assets. So these companies reported improving operational efficiencies, creating a more productive and creative work environment. So this 9% were almost all pragmatic companies. Yeah. So if we're putting ourselves in that category, which I hope we all are, we have to recognise what's changed in terms of the landscape before we head out there. And I think the thing I would say to you here is, it's a bold new world where marketing tactics are concerned. So yes, it's a virtual world. And practices really need to gear up their game and skills when it comes to things like video conferencing, their websites, their digital marketing, and their technology and techniques in virtual marketing. I know prior to lockdown, we were working with lots of firms that were thinking about becoming a lot more digital savvy. I think now they have to be digital savvy. If a firm doesn't have the expertise in using online collaboration platforms for talking to clients, talking to prospects, to do webinars, having automation platforms for their email and their marketing campaigns, their CRM systems, and their website development platforms are lagging, then the reliance that you now have on the digital channels will fall over at the first hurdle. So everyone in your organisation should be learning more about digital marketing and sharing that information with others within your firm. I think trust and confidence as well is in short supply, and be aware of that with any marketing campaigns that you run. The pandemic's caused people to question themselves, question others, and some people have actually become more anxious, making it a harder time for them to actually make some decisions. And risk obviously always sits on the minds of clients and prospects. So be aware of all of that. And the best thing we can do, I think, is start out by asking people that we encounter, just how are you doing? And that's my key message in the marketing tactics, is listen more, and then show them how you can help them. I think also recognise that every pound is very precious right now. Many of your prospective clients, existing clients, are struggling to protect their cash flow at the moment. Their customers are probably slowing up and stopping payments. There's a knock-on effect to their professional advisors in return. So we have to be creative now in our pricing, our packaging, and our payment terms. So looking at traditional versus virtual. So for the last few years, professional service firms have started to transition from what we see as the traditional marketing models to more virtual digital ones. In many cases, firms were doing the same or better than previous years, and there wasn't a great deal of urgency to accelerate this transition at the start of the year. Obviously, that's completely changed now, and that urgency is there. So priorities have dramatically changed, and firms now need to look at how they develop their business, market, sell, package, etc. And as more of our employees continue to work from home, we have to look at everything through more of a global lens now, rather than just a regional one. So what is the new normal then in terms of marketing tactics? Well, first point is get seen and found. And my second point is use research where we can as good, relevant content. And I'll come on to explain what I mean about that. So being seen and found, first of all, means spending more time looking at things like search engine optimization. So if your firm is not showing up on page 1 for a Google search, then your articles, your web pages are just not being seen. Spend time every week monitoring your keyword rankings. Try different tactics to try and move your positioning up on page 1. So as long as you're moving up, you're making progress. And your goal is to have a piece of content to be the first or second listing associated with a given keyword on Google, so that you own the answer box. So be the owner of the how-to questions. When people are searching on Google, if they're not searching specifically for, let's say, accountant in London, they'll be searching on a how-to message. So, for example, how to claim R&D tax credits could be one of those searches. And what you want to do is be found in this answer box effectively. So if you do any kind of how-to searches on Google, this is the first thing that comes up, and you can claim that by having good relevant content on your website that Google values and positions your firm as the giver of the answer to that. So invest more time on your content. Step back and look at your content from your audience's point of view. Make sure that it's benefits driven and not features driven. Make sure that we're educating, we're not just selling, and focus on pushing insights, not just pushing for an order. We want to communicate our expertise.
Joe, I have a quick question for you on that. So if I'm a relatively small accounting practice, wherever it might be, I don't know, in Worthing, for example, and I'm looking at this R&D, sort of how do I find an R&D claim to HMRC? How does Google look at it for me that I'm sitting in Worthing? Because I'd imagine, a big, large London firm is going to rank much higher in the Google search engine than a small out-of-town firm, for example.
Yeah. So what will happen is, you can see here on this slide that I've said how to claim R&D tax London. Yeah. You need to own the geography. Yeah. So when you look at search behaviours from businesses, what they'll do is they'll want a how-to, but they'll generally search locally as well. So if they're finding somebody or they're looking for somebody to give them advice, they don't want, and they're in Worthing, they don't want a big London firm like PwC to be trying to go to give them advice. They want somebody that's on their doorstep. So what they'll do is they'll refine their search down to a locality. The other thing is Google will recognise as well where an individual is searching from. So I'm sat in my office in Birmingham today. If I just go and search how to claim R&D tax and I don't put any kind of geographical suffix in there, Google's already recognised that my positioning is in Birmingham, and it will pull up the relevant Birmingham firms first. Yeah. So these are tactics around your content to plug in geographical suffixes as well as making the content very relevant to the search question.
Okay.
Does that answer that?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. The other thing that will help you get onto this answer box here is blogs. Now, Google likes blogs, and the key to having good blogs is optimizing them well. So when you post a blog, what you want to do is put as many keyword phrases around your blog content. If you're using WordPress, this makes it really easy to do that, because you can put all the keywords in really, really easily. But what I would suggest is do a blog audit and use analytics to see where your keyword engagement lies. So Google will tell you how good your blog is and whether it's going to rank it or not. Yeah. So blogs are a good way of doing that. I think the other thing is think about segmenting properly as well. What a lot of industries do is look for advisors that are specialists in their sector. So this is where landing pages come into play, and will also help you get into these answer boxes by having good landing pages. So if I've put in R&D tax, what I want to do is get to a landing page that's all about R&D tax. I don't want to get to the home page of your website. So your landing page needs to have good content on there. That might be a guide to how to claim R&D. It might be a video that you've put together that talks through the R&D process. It might be one of your on-demand webinars where you've done an R&D presentation. So just make sure that your landing page has really good, valuable content. And if it's got video on there, that makes it even more valuable, because obviously Google owns YouTube. Yeah. So think about industry sectors as well as content. And industry sectors, I'm going to use my R&D example here, the creative, the manufacturing, the tech sectors are ones to perhaps focus your R&D message on. So if you've got landing pages, one for manufacturing, one for creative, one for tech, you're more likely to hit the right note with the person who's searching. I would also suggest that, as I mentioned on the previous slide, research is a great way of creating engaging, relevant content. So just to show you as an example, if you've got a piece of research, this is called the content wheel. What you can do when you've got your research is share it on multiple platforms. So this could be through social media, it could be through podcasting. You might want to create a guide from your research. You could run events using your research as the basis for that. So webinars, videos, and also use digital advertising to promote your research. So LinkedIn advertising, Facebook advertising. So there's lots of layers that will make best use of a piece of research. The difficult bit is getting the research in the first place. But I think what you've got to not focus on here is, let's create a detailed white paper. Research can actually be something quite simple. So for example, I know Tarek, you'll be familiar with this, is running a webinar with clients where you talk about, how they survived lockdown, what their challenges are now, where they see themselves going in the future. And that recorded webinar can actually be your piece of research, and you can share it on multiple channels, because what you've done is you've got your clients to give you the research in the first place. You may also find that research is more readily available from some of your professional advisors. So maybe do something with a legal firm or a financial advisor and create a paper together. Use existing research that's out there from business organisations or from the professional bodies like the ICAW or ACCA, and put your own spin on that research. And you could also think about YouGov surveys, which cost about £2,500 to £3,000 to run, but you've got an immediate piece of research back from a YouGov survey that you can then use, as your own. So that could be somewhere to have a look. But I think all of this leads back to, what are the most effective ways to get in front of potential clients, and recognising that referrals might not be enough anymore. These now are the top 5 channels where businesses will go to address a business challenge. So top of the pops is a general web search. You've then got reading articles or blogs, downloading content, listening to an expert speaker, so where your on-demand webinars can come in, and then asking for a referral. So this is how the landscape's shifted, and it's being aware of that. So you need to be where they're looking. Messages and presentations that used to be delivered at conferences or events, are not being done that way at the moment. I'm not saying we'll never get back to that, who knows, but at the moment our tactics have to be on a digital platform. So in this new normal, leads and engagement with new clients, recognise they're not necessarily coming from referrals but from online searches. Recognise that your search engine optimization, your content has to be in the game. You have to be a player with your content, and that means competing obviously with lots of other firms that are out there wanting to do the same thing, but done well. It will work. And I think this comes back to using technology well. So living in the virtual digital world, we have to look at delivering products and services through a completely different lens. And a few other ideas to throw in on the technology side for marketing. Maybe think about creating a client-only portal and fill it with digital content in every shape and form that your clients can access easily. Videos, podcasts, presentations, guides. Try and create, a good digital experience for your existing clients. I'd also suggest leverage your subject matter where you've got experts in a particular field. So I'll go back to my R&D example. If you've got an R&D expert within your firm, leverage their expertise in video, webinars, online formats, and you know, the only caveat I would put that is make sure they're good at presenting, and if they're not, get them some decent media training. Think virtual for all of your deliverables. So try the same content in different channels. You know, can we present the content with different speakers? Can we create networking rooms when we deliver the content so that you can have breakout sessions? Can we provide one-on-one consulting over a video collaboration platform? Can we do the content in a series of videos and maybe have a live Q&A session where you have clinics online once a week? And really accelerate your social networking. There are lots of firms now that are building more personalised relationships through LinkedIn, through Facebook, and if you're not doing that, you're getting left behind. And I'd also suggest add a couple of digital only services, you know, so if you are providing Xero, for example, and Receipt Bank to your clients, could we do some virtual workshops which are, you know, how to use Receipt Bank, how to use certain aspects of Xero. So it doesn't all have to be about delivering thought leadership. It can be about simple how-to messages on getting the best out of your cloud technology. And come back now to the 4 pillars of trust, really. This is what we're trying to build through the marketing that we're doing. We want clients and prospective clients to become a member of our group. You know, we want them to have familiarity, shared contacts, recognition with us. Have roles and credentials that are trustworthy. Make sure you've got the right skill set and formal credentials to be credible. And third pillar, recognise the other person's challenge. You know, make sure that we have the empathy and industry perspective to understand it. The message is we get it and we can help. And be reliably helpful, you know, providing helpful insights, show that you're the reliable partner, that we're honest and that we're realistic. And it's that sincerity that clients and potential clients will buy into. So let's just have a look at some actionables now. So what should we be including in the marketing plan? So I think the first point that I've laboured on here really is about staying in touch. I would suggest, if you haven't done it already, you contact all your clients and you'd keep doing it on a regular basis. We want calls to show that we care. We want to add value where we can and have these regular check-in calls to offer help, ideas, value. And this comes back to the, you know, how are you doing? How can I help you? And I'd even suggest rolling that onto former clients and prospective clients, you know, a phone call. How are you doing? Can we help you? And show that care and concern and do it in a sincere way. So an action I would put on here is call at least one contact every day. And I think a few minutes doing that will yield big benefits and keep you top of mind. Get niche, yeah. So if you can, develop a specialist niche. You may already have them. This I'm showing on the screen at the moment is a snippet from a report that came out from EY back in March, talking about the impact of COVID on different sectors. So have a think about the different sectors that you could perhaps give some of this information to and how you can help them. So if, for example, they're in a sector that is being hit because of cash flow issues at the moment, recognise the research information that's out there and go to them with help for cash flow forecasting systems, managing cash solutions. Can your app stacks be one of those solutions for them? And I think if you can get slightly famous in a niche market by contributing maybe to their sector journals, joining their professional body, lots of them have affiliate schemes where you can join as a professional advisor and then create content just for them, socialise with them digitally. That's the way to go with the niche markets. Also, think about this kind of virtual experience that you could give to a potential niche. So, for example, if you have a number of charities as a niche sector, look at doing webinars for them, look at doing video content, but make it relevant to the burning building that they're facing at the moment. So you're there to provide help. Perhaps connect to your geography as part of your marketing message. People do associate themselves with local landmarks. Maybe have a think of a list of local landmarks if you're in an area where you can do this. So if there's castles, statues, whatever it might be, think of some marketing messages to go with that and affiliate yourself with the local geography. Or this is just an idea, your sleeping CEO series or your sleeping client series, put that message out there in your social media posts that reassurance is given by your firm to your clients that allows them to sleep well at night. So I think there are nice ways of presenting your marketing messages which connect to geography, maybe connect to clients, and give that message of help and reassurance. Just looking at kind of going from rebuilding and recovering, I know there are lots of businesses out there at the moment that are probably looking at ways in which they can get more revenue into the business. This is just an idea that we've shared with a number of clients about looking at whether there are areas of tax that businesses could perhaps get their hands on. Just some stats here, 84 billion unclaimed in R&D tax credits, going back to my theme. Could that be a webinar for you? Could that be a headline for a webinar for you? Have they had their share? Same goes with things like pension tax relief and capital allowances. There's a forecast at the moment that we're going to see a raft of new entrepreneurs. Some people are calling them corporate refugees, who knows? But there will be lots of businesses, lots of people who've been working from home decided this is the time to start their own business. Can you be out there as the firm that steps up to help new entrepreneurs? Facebook might be a good way of doing that. It's certainly the biggest social media platform in the UK as well as in the world, 2 billion users on there. Lots of new entrepreneurs will be using Facebook as a way to get out to market. Can you hook on to things that are happening with Awareness Week? So 7th to the 11th of September is National Payroll Week. Could we run a payroll campaign around that, celebrating payroll as a key worker during the last 4 to 5 months? Maybe use it as an opportunity to promote your payroll services. And the research that I talked about earlier, maybe running a client webinar where you have a number of clients, you gather them together and you talk to them on a virtual platform, record it, about the challenges they faced when they went into lockdown in March, talk about furlough, talk about the remote working challenges, have a chat with them about where they are now. Do they think they'll return to pre-COVID working methods, for example? Have they dealt with the staff's well-being? And what they think the future is going to look like. Now, that 40-minute chat with clients recorded can be your piece of research that you then use the research wheel to distribute that content. So just a few ideas of how to take marketing messages and push them out across what is a new landscape. So just to finish off, summary really on the future. I think the pandemic's made us focus on helping and advising. Don't lose that, because I think you will be remembered for what you did during the pandemic with your clients, and the expectation now is that level of help and advice will continue, and it is your opportunity, as I said right at the top, to shine with your clients, create better relationships with them, better relationships, better referrals. That interaction doesn't have to be face to face. Regular check-in calls on Zoom or Skype, etc. Run webinars, and compliance fees at the moment are hard to compete with, so we have to justify our prices by demonstrating value. Brace the cloud, and recognise that you can now get clients from anywhere. It doesn't have to be local. It can. The world is your oyster now on a digital platform. So if you do have a specialist sector that you can embrace and work well with, you don't have to confine it to that specialist sector being in your locality. So I hope that's been helpful. It is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I think my message is clear. Hopefully there's some ideas in there that you can action and take away with you. And I'll happily hand over to Tariq now if there's any questions.
Muted myself. Thanks for that, Joe. That was very informative, very useful indeed. I have a couple of questions that have popped up. Some of my own, and some that have come from delegates. What percentage of turnover do you feel an accountancy firm should allocate to marketing generally, and then more so in this climate that we find ourselves in?
Okay, so we consider ourselves really lucky working with a firm that will allocate 3% of turnover to their marketing budget. Yeah, that is quite rare. Yeah, so I think realistically, and particularly now that we're in this digital world, it should be about 1.5% of turnover is allocated to marketing. And I think, remember that whilst people were accepting during lockdown that you could do things cheap and cheerfully on Zoom, and now that world's changing slightly, and if you're going to do videos, etc., I think they need to be professionally put together. So some of that marketing budget that you might have spent on doing seminars and face-to-face kind of marketing activity needs to be pushed into that video digital world. So just because it's digital doesn't mean reduce your spend. What it means is you put it in a different place. But rule of thumb, 1.5%.
Okay, and I think you're saying that's in good times, normal times, but in COVID times, same 1.5%. Spend more, spend less. A lot of accountants will say, we've got to cut costs. So,
I think, I mean, you might say, she would say this, wouldn't she? But, those firms that take that pragmatic view that I mentioned earlier and balance the offensive and defensive moves in their business decisions are the firms that will come out of this well. And, I'm of an age where I remember previous recessions, and certainly it's the firms that have ramped up their marketing in that time that have come out well. And I think when times are tough, that's the time to get your name out there, because a lot of firms will lock down the hatches, will go quiet. That's not what businesses want to see.
And yeah, I mean, obviously you're working with 140 plus firms, also not just accounting firms, but some law firms as well. Have they just stayed the same? Have they invested more? I mean, what have they done?
Quite interesting, actually. I think I would say, hand on heart, the accountancy firms that we're working with haven't held back. Now we might be preaching to the converted because they're already bought into, investing in marketing, but they certainly haven't stopped spending, and I think they've benefited because of that. Yes, we've changed the way that we deliver the marketing plan, but they certainly haven't stopped investing. The legal's been an interesting one, because I would say there's a 50-50 split. 50% of the legal firms just literally cut the cost immediately, left the website running with a message on there about how to contact a partner, because they were all working remotely, and that was about it. But the other half of the legal firms have ramped up their spend, and surprise, surprise, they've come out the other side. They're actually doing really well. They're busy on employment. They're busy on commercial property, busy on litigation. Transactional work may have gone a little bit quiet at the moment, but that'll come back. But it's been obvious which ones have continued and which ones have held back.
Yeah. I'm speaking with sort of our sister business, McCalvin's, where obviously we work very closely with you, Joe. I mean, one of the reasons for coming to you, and I realise this is recorded, so hopefully it doesn't backfire on me in negotiations. But I mean, throughout this whole period, the fact that you've got a multi-skilled team there, which very difficult to have that skill in-house within a sort of smallish sort of accounting firm, to have, you know, desktop publishers, web designers, copywriters, and so on and so forth. We just couldn't get that sort of expertise in a firm the size of ours. So we've really valued the efforts that you guys have put in, particularly around the COVID and situation, and that providing that information back to our clients and prospective clients as well. And I think that, you know, our clients have certainly valued it too. And I thought that's why it was very important to invite you along to do a webinar for GI, because I think it could be useful for the GI clients, which are all accounting firms and find themselves in a very similar situation to McAlvin. So thank you very much for that. One other quick question. Social media platforms. So what are the social media platforms most likely to generate business for accountancy firms?
Well, that really depends on what business you're looking for. I wish I could say just go on this platform and do all your stuff on there and it'll be the magic wand for you. But I think the thing with any social media strategy is understanding where your potential audience is. So without question, in the professional environment, LinkedIn is still the main player. So, you know, if you're looking to generate more referrals from other professionals, then you need to keep your profile up on LinkedIn platform, make connections, share content. It then really comes down to where you're looking to find clients. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, Facebook being a good hunting ground for new entrepreneurs, and I would also say that there are other platforms dependent on what you've got to offer that are relevant. So, for example, if you're trying to reach out to, you know, the media and the creative sector, and I'm thinking here about businesses that have products and services to sell that lend themselves really well to Instagram, then you should be on Instagram as well, and you should have that presence there. If you're trying to sell to the construction industry, Instagram probably isn't a great place to be, but most construction businesses will be on LinkedIn. So you need to use the targeting tools on LinkedIn to do that. If you're trying to find charities, they will all have a Facebook presence without question. And Facebook is the place to be if you're looking to engage with charities. So you've got to look at where your audience is and then decide how much time and effort you put into the social media channel to find them and engage with them.
How do you think you choose that audience? Because I think to myself, if we want to go for young startup tech businesses, then, you know, what image do we need to portray for that to be of interest to those young entrepreneurs, you know, these fast-growing technology-based startups? Is it somebody like me, you know, or is it somebody, you know, much younger in torn jeans, you know, baseball cap, I don't know, whatever it's called today, sort of thing? How do we sort of get the right image across to attract the business that we're looking for?
Okay, I think there's always I believe a misconception that, you know, you have to be, you know, if your audience is 20 something, then, you know, you have to be 20 something to sell to them. I disagree with that, because I think, you know, if you're a new entrepreneur out there and you want help and advice, I don't think age matters at all. I think what matters is credibility and expertise. I would want to see that the advisor that I'm choosing has other clients in that space. And if you're able to encourage clients to not give you just good one-liner testimonials, but actually do maybe some video content with you where you talk to them about how they set up their tech business, how you help them set that up, where they are now, what you've done as part of their growth process, then that, I think, to a new entrepreneur is far more important than having somebody in ripped jeans and a baseball cap sat opposite them. Yeah, it's credibility and proof. Yeah, and your clients have got to give you the best proof statements, I believe, but get it on video now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions I had. I haven't got any more questions that come up from the delegates. So thank you very much. Just you talked about awards and promotions while standing in front of a burning building. But I should mention that actually we're just about to launch a promotion in the next few days, which is offering firms a quite significant discount on work introduced between now and the end of September. So basically it's a 25% discount on business that's over and above the past 3 months average. And that's really sort of to help out firms that are finding it a little bit difficult at the moment, but also, you know, we've got a bit of spare capacity that we could happily utilize and sort of share the benefit of that. So that'll be launching in the next few days, and we'll be sending out an e-shot, which Joe's preparing. So you'll get to see some of the material that she produces for us. But thank you, everybody that attended today. Thank you, Joe, for presenting. Very useful. And hopefully we'll see you all very, very soon.
Thank you.